On CNBC's aptly named show Squawk Box today, they had a venture capitalist on to discuss the hilarious Reddit prank that we've been talking about that led to the massive inflation of the price of GameStop stocks and the subsequent tanking of the hedge fund Melvin Capital, which had been short selling, which is to say betting against the stock. So let's see what kind of analysis he's got for us.
There's turnover, right? There are new people buying from the original guys that squeezed this thing. What's also interesting, and this is where I disagree with Henry, is there's a anger. I spent an hour last night on the Reddit chat, and it's shocking how angry, right? There's a nihilism that's going on out there, which I do think is reminiscent of the time. I think we saw it at the Capitol building. I think we saw it in Black Lives Matter protests. People are crying for system change. This is generational. This is millennials and Gen Z screaming at boomers saying, you screwed up our planet, you screwed up our economics, you screwed up our future, and screw you. And so I think there's a lot going on here. Besides,
that's not nihilism. That's actually pretty much the opposite of nihilism. That's like actually people doing a pretty good job of finding meaning for their life.
No, that's a secondary meaning is, nihilism is systems change.
Right. Well, they're also trying to, I don't know if that was the clip, they continue, but I've seen screenshots on Twitter going around of like the chyrons and the boards going up about what they're talking about. And there's a lot of trying to connect this to like Trump populism. Yeah. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, well,
just like the whole idea that these guys, you have to remember, these guys believe that Trump was pushed into the presidency by this wave of angry economic populists, which is just bullshit. That's not what happened. But that's what they believe, so that's what they continue to push. So they see another wave of people in their view just angry at the system. Then they go, oh, this is the Trump all over again, when it couldn't be further from the truth.
Well,
like,
analysis. I think there is some truth there, actually. Like, we have a populism that can come out in different ways, in different expressions, based on the people who are engaging with it. And I do think, at least rhetorically, there is an element of classic fascism in what Trump is preaching, because he tends to be very angry, dismissive, whatever, towards this international finance capital, this unreal stuff that dwells in fantasy land. Although, of course, as we all know, he's heavily invested in it himself. But he has this vision of America where we want to return it to this good old industrial manufacturing capital, this domestic stuff, making things. So on that level, I think there's some truth to that. But, the left and the right are against the establishment for completely different reasons. And it really raises my hackles when you both sides, Black Lives Matter, which points in the direction of human liberation and the overthrowing of racial capitalism, right? When you compare that with the far right, which actually represents a deepening of racial capitalism.
Right. I mean, I just don't like the idea of calling the right-wing form of quote unquote populism at all. To me, it's just
gotta come up with a different name for it, because it's a real phenomenon, whether or not we agree. But populism does not necessarily mean good things. Populism can also be bad. It can go in either direction. And that's why we need a structural critique to know what we're actually against, beyond this vague anti-establishment, anti-elite sentiment. Otherwise, you end up like our friend Jimmy Dore saying we can work with the Boogaloo Boys.
I would say NPR isn't helping by calling this game, like somebody on NPR, I'm trying to look for it, but compared it to Gamergate and harassing hedge funders. Like, right.
Well, like, hedge funders are a protected class now. I love that. Like, I've seen takes as well, like, how dare you manipulate the stock market? This is something sacred. This is something real. It has a function. Like, there was one tweet from this guy who should have known better, who was like, if you manipulate it, that ruins the purpose of the stock market, which is to, make positive investments in companies that are doing well so that they can do innovative things with those investments. Like, no, most of the stock got issued a really long time ago, and companies don't see any of that money. when you buy a stock. I'm sorry, I've just like brushed up on this because I don't know a ton about stocks. How am I doing, guys?
Yeah, no, I don't. This is the most I've read about the stock market probably ever. I mean, and it's because this is so interesting. But usually, I mean, the deck is stacked against you. Why do you want to read about a bunch of people like making out like bandits while you're just learning that you can't even play the game? It's not like you could pick up a bat and start and go to the cages for practice.
Oh, bring your change. Just bring your change down to Wall Street and they'll help you out with
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, fact check, they did it for the lulz. Like, this guy is acting like these people are just like angry, humorless. No, it was fun. They did it for fun. It's hilarious.
Like what you said, though, there is like, if you read the Reddit, a lot of what people are saying is like, yeah, fuck these guys. They are like rigging the system against us, and we're going to take it back. And that's why a lot of people are holding the line and not selling, even as Robinhood and other like I forget who else, TD Bank or whatever, they're driving down the price. People still aren't selling, myself included, because fuck those guys.
Word.
Right. I love the idea that they they got that Gamergate reference from simply looking at the word GameStop and then looking at Gamergate and going, close enough, let's make a reference. Like, there's nothing to even. Why do you even draw that conclusion? I mean, it's just unbelievable.
They're both online.
Like,
right.
How people are saying like, oh, my dog was able to get surgery now. Like, I know that there's, yes, BlackRock got rich off this. I'm sure a lot of people who have immense, like, large companies that have immense capital, they're able to buy up all these stocks regardless of how much they're being shorted. They're going to make a ton off this. I get it. But there are some people who actually like did okay and made some money. And so I think that's awesome.